How's it going, everybody? Imperious Q here. I know that a lot of you were probably tens of you, were anxiously awaiting the next chapter of the patch shirt series. As you can see, I have been working on getting more patches on my shirt. I continue to collect them. It's fun, but a couple things happened this week. One, there was a death in the family. I've spent most of today helping deal with sorting out some of the things that have to do with that, and that includes, trying to mend fences and family relationships and things like that I don't really want to get into, but consequently, the editing process that normally happens in the last couple of days in the run-up to posting on Fridays is just not gonna probably happen this week, but at the same time there was something that I wanted to address, and I tried to record yesterday, and it didn't turn out quite so good. So I thought I'd take another stab at it, and that is, I don't know if you guys saw it, but Film Threat came out on Soundcloud with a debate from the San Diego Comic-Con about why the fan reaction was so visceral and why The Last Jedi was such a divisive movie. And I wanted to give my thoughts on that, because I think there are some points that they absolutely were spot on about, and there's others that it seemed like they just glossed over and really missed the point. And they set it up in a debate type format. It had a lot of different bloggers that I'm sure many of you are familiar with. I will put the link to the SoundCloud file down below. But one of the first things that was brought up in the debate was that, we have these characters that have been established for over 40 years. I had the original one of these, okay? Now, this is one that my son got for me for Christmas, and I really appreciate it because it's cool to kind of recapture some of your youth. But I had the one from like 1978. I've been a Star Wars fan for that long, and there were large droughts of time where all we had was the expanded universe, and I remember when all we had was Splinter of the Mind's Eye, which is the very first continuation that was approved by George Lucas. And then there was a Han Solo trilogy, Han Solo at Star's End, is the one that I mainly remember. We had those in between Star Wars, Empire Strikes Back, and Return of the Jedi. And then we had all these years where, eventually you had the expanded universe, and we all thought we knew where this universe was going, and and you had the prequels, and that really kind of did a reset on some things, but the biggest change happened when Disney bought Lucasfilm. Now, let's be honest. There's a lot of people out there, and I'm not saying that they're my subscribers, because I just don't have that many just yet. I'm hoping that will grow. But a lot of you guys I know personally, so, or at least Facebook personally. And you're not the kind of fanboys that are bashing the artists or bashing, necessarily all of Lucasfilm for how things turned out with since the purchase of Star Wars. There's a lot of people out there that have a lot of they call themselves fans, and they're really doing the fans a disservice. I'm a fan, okay? If you're 20 years old, 21 years old, and you think you know everything about Star Wars, and you think that you're just such an authority that you can just sit there and you can criticize, mother, I'm not trying to be rude, but I'm not kidding, Star Wars bed sheets. If you go to Rancho Obi-Wan, okay, and you see their example of what a kid from the 70s Star Wars room looked like, it was my bedroom. Okay? I am not kidding. So if anybody has a reason to be passionate about this, I certainly do. And I get that some people have been uncomfortable with the direction that Star Wars has been taking, but I think that the reasons why they're upset with it are really, quite frankly, ridiculous. That being said, I also think that what the brass at Star Wars have tried to do, while I understand from an economic standpoint how they're trying to broaden their base, the way they reacted to the fans' reactions did not help either. So let's go step by step here. According to this debate that they had, the biggest problem that people had with Rian Johnson's Last Jedi was we had a Luke Skywalker that we thought we knew. And over 40 years, that character has been established. Even Mark Hamill will tell you, hey, I didn't recognize this in the script. He's an actor. He's going to do what he's paid to do. He's paid to take direction. And some of you people out there need to learn what that means. Because in your zeal for, oh, my childhood was ruined and all that bull crap, you've really hurt some people who did nothing but want to be part of this universe and wanted to entertain you. Okay? I'm going to get to that in a minute. Here's Luke Skywalker. He's off on some rock. Here's Rey. She hands him, and he throws it over his shoulder. He wants nothing to do with it. Who is this guy? We don't know this guy. This isn't Luke Skywalker. Luke Skywalker was this heroic figure who, went about saving the universe from the evil empire. Yeah, he did do a lot of that, but people forget Luke was a very flawed character. Luke was a teenage whiner, okay? I'll be honest. When I saw him when I was like 8, 9 years old, he could do no wrong. But as you grow up and you mature, you realize he was really kind of a whiny little complainer, and did he mature as the movies went on? Yeah. But he also got darker, okay? You come up with the storyline that Rian Johnson did where he really shows kind of a darker side to Luke. Shouldn't be shouldn't be a surprise to anybody. Because consider what Luke was told. He was told, once you start down the dark path, forever it will dominate. All this Jedi propaganda. and he bought it, and it was garbage. Okay? I thank David Filoni and the people who did Star Wars Rebels, and also the Clone Wars. The Gray Jedi needed to happen because of the fact that Luke wasn't a real Jedi. He never went through all the different trials and that. Yoda was taking shortcuts. And Yoda is one of the biggest problems, if you really want to get down to, as a character. Not as the person, not Frank Oz, but as the character. The Jedi were very flawed. And the whole reason why the Republic collapsed was because they were flawed. Because they were hypocrites. They talked about how, fear leads to suffering, and suffering leads to hate, or hate leads to... They feared more than anybody else. And they refused, in fact, to do their due diligence and their duty to the Senate by letting them know, hey, we're compromised here. Do you think they told the Senate there was a Sith Lord out there? I'm not talking about Darth Sidious. I'm talking about Darth Maul. They got blindsided. Why? Because they failed to realize something. The dichotomy of the Force is a construct that was completely based in fear. You take the Dark Jedi, who were originally just more dynamic, who were using the more dynamic side of the Force, willing to use it offensively. The Jedi were like, no, we can't do... what about reasonable Force? Just because something can be done doesn't mean it should be done. All right? And just because you can have an excuse to do something, and this is something I know a little bit about because of my particular profession, just because somebody gives me an opportunity to take action against them physically doesn't mean that's always the best thing to do. And the Force should be seen as neither good nor bad, dark nor light. You don't have dark without the light. And I think that's the biggest thing that people are like, what is this? The Jedi must end stuff that Luke is talking about. That's exactly what he's talking about. I think in Rian Johnson's mind, he went back to the source of way back in the beginning when the schism happened. And he realized the Jedi were not the good guys all the time. They took children away from their families and turned them into little propaganda-ridden clones. Eventually, for real. The Sith, on the other hand, were a reaction to the Jedi. And they're like, well, if they're going to say we can't be this way, then we're going to completely embrace it. Neither one of them were correct. And that's really where I think that this direction with Luke was going. And that is that this whole dichotomy thing, this whole thing that it's just the Jedi and the Sith. No. I think that's where he realized his problem lie. And because of his indoctrination, supposedly, and his fear of what he sensed in Kylo, then the whole thing went to the crapper. So that was a big part of it. Now I'm not saying that I'm a huge fan of The Last Jedi. I'm actually, I'm okay with it. It was an okay movie. I enjoyed it. I mean, like somebody said one time, I think a true Star Wars fan would probably spend $12 to watch Obi-Wan Kenobi mow his lawn. That's just how much we like our Star Wars. But the problem is that people were uncomfortable with this direction that they're going with Luke, this darker Luke, and I really think that they're forgetting all of the crap that Luke would have had to go through in the last 30, 40 years. And so that I don't have a problem with. I do have some problems with just the whole, and it goes back to The Force Awakens. The Force Awakens was really a retread of Star Wars, let's be honest. We still enjoyed it. It was fun. We got to see our favorite characters. But I'll tell you what I don't like. I don't like the fact, and I agree with this part of it about, we have these beloved characters, and now you're shoving these new characters at us. I don't have a problem with Finn. I don't have a problem with Rey. I don't have a problem with Rose. I don't have a problem with Poe. They're all interesting characters, and they're going to develop it, but they're never going to be Luke, Leia, and Han. Okay. Moving into the 9th movie, Han's dead. Leia, Carrie Fisher, that's her soul. She's dead for real. And Luke now has become one with the Force. That I don't really see, to me that whole part of the story was kind of weak. Point number 2, why they say people didn't like the Last Jedi. Well, they kept trying to make too much humor. There's humor, and they just overdid it. Humor has always been part of Star Wars. All right. And I think the point that they're making about, there's too much of it. There should only be 1 or 2 comic relief. Look, George Lucas was, quite frankly, not a very funny guy. He was a nerd with a grand vision that we all loved. Okay? You got to give the guy a break sometimes, and I think that's something that a lot of fans didn't do. He was trying to make something for kids. Originally, he wanted to recapture that grandeur that he felt as a child with Buck Rogers and Flash Gordon and things like that. So, you want to talk about things that bug you? The Ewoks bugged me. Okay? I thought the Ewoks were kind of ridiculous. I'll still watch Return of the Jedi anytime it's on. Okay, and I still enjoy playing Battlefront and running through the Forest of Endor with the Ewoks. That's cool. One of the greatest scenes of all time in Star Wars was the speeder bikes. Love that. But I had actually watched the Star Wars holiday special when it aired, and I knew that those aren't Ewok houses. Those are Wookiee houses, and they should be on Kashyyyk. Okay, we can have that discussion. But George Lucas was trying to make something that would, quite frankly, sell toys. And let's be honest, I got to meet this man right here. They call him the Toy Father. I met him at San Francisco Comic-Con. And to be honest, I teared up a couple of times when talking to him about the toys that he created that were such an integral part of my childhood, including this one. Okay? So, Star Wars, and the reason why a lot of us who do the costuming clubs and stuff like that is to put smiles on people's faces. And yeah, it's to make money, and that's great. And why shouldn't he? Why shouldn't they? People really, they get this idea that Star Wars belongs to just them, and it doesn't. You look at. There's been people that haven't always been, haven't always put in the best performances and things of that nature, but it's still Star Wars, okay? And, you look at over the years, I really, Kelly Marie was so happy to be part of, I think Kelly Marie Tran was so happy to be part of Star Wars that she was just like, always smiling. She actually, a couple of members of our Southern California, of the Imperial Outlanders, Southern California squad, ran into her. They didn't even know it was her. And she was chatting them up and just excited about, their costumes and everything like that. And they got a picture with her. And she's grinning ear to ear. And then 3 months later, you got a bunch of people that just stole that joy from her. To the point where she wouldn't even want to be on social media anymore. And it's not the first time. Jake Lloyd, little kid. He was a good little actor. He was okay in Star Wars. He was also in one of my other favorite films, Jingle All the Way. Did a great job. But he could never live down Star Wars, and people give him a hard time about it. Ahmed Best. Okay? Jar Jar Binks. My kids love Jar Jar. I pointed out to them that Jar Jar was responsible for the destruction of the Republic. That is critiquing a character. That's not critiquing a performance. To me, Jar Jar as a character was he was kind of an idiot, but he was the comic relief. But the way the man was hounded, that he actually considered suicide? Come on, guys. Come on, what are you doing? And I'm not going to name any names, but there are people out there. I get along with people from every different club. Okay. I'm not going to name names because the people that I'm talking about don't represent a particular club, but they are often in different clubs, and they act like like Star Wars is their little domain, and that they're going to lord it over everybody. But you didn't do this right, you didn't do that right. Freaking relax, okay? Relax. It's science fiction. All right. The humor thing, it's just to be kind of goofy. All right. Ahmed Best was goofy. Jar Jar Binks was goofy. They're always going to try and put humor in. Is it going to always fly? No. But like the guy on the podcast said, is there anybody out there who didn't laugh when Chewie's about to eat the pork and he looks down and sees the little fat pork going, come on, it was funny. Kind of got grossed out with Luke, milking the sea cow or whatever that was. That was, but still, kind of funny. Kind of fun. Come on, guys. Really? Another thing that people, and they didn't really address this, and I think this is a big one. There's a lot of you out there, not my particular, the people that are generally subscribed to my channel, but there's a lot of people out there that are like, oh, there's all this social justice warrior stuff, and they're trying to force this feminism crap down our throats. And who are you people? Star Wars has always been social commentary. Just like Star Trek, just like Battlestar Galactica. Science fiction has always been a place where it's been safer to say things about current society since Orwell wrote 1984. And quite frankly, I am so sick and tired of hearing people talk about, oh, you social justice warriors. If you're not a social justice warrior, maybe you're a social injustice warrior, okay? Because there's nothing wrong with wanting to empower girls to want to like science fiction, therefore get into science, therefore want to become astronauts, therefore learn math and electronics and engineering and things like that. People are idiots. Okay? Anytime, anybody will tell you, anytime that you can double your audience, if your audience has mainly been men or boys from 15 to 35, okay, fine. But they want to do more than that. And because they want to make Star Wars look more like society, what's your problem? You know who the Asians were that was actually kind of offensive? The only Asian, quote unquote, and they weren't really Asian, but they were criticized for being stereotypically Asian. You've got the Nemoidians, who were really kind of offensive, and they were kind of like a throwback to the old caricatures of Japanese during World War II. And then you've got Num Num, I think is his name, Nim Num, the guy who was flying on the Millennium Falcon with Lando Calrissian. I got no problem with him. I've got a patch of him. Where is it? right here. Okay? But what's wrong with actually having Asian people? And then you guys go off on, oh, they're trying to put this, what was the whole point of the Canto Bite thing? And why do they got to have Rose? Let me tell you something. Just a second. Let me tell you something. There are more people in Asia, specifically China, than there is in the rest of the world. Okay? If aliens were to come to this planet right now, and they wanted to reach the maximum amount of people that they could, they would land in China. China is a market. Okay? So that's why you see a lot of movies nowadays that have a Chinese angle in it, like The Martian. Who helped save the day? The Chinese. Well, guess what? That goes over well in China. Okay? You have a Chinese person, an Asian person, and let's be honest. I mean, to me, I was completely understanding what was happening. I didn't necessarily like it. I didn't really care for the Canto Bite scene and that whole diversion, but I understand why they did it. They did it because the Chinese are communist. Now, they may be kind of communist light lately. They've got 5 different autonomous regions that have varying degrees of capitalism in them. But the fact of the matter is that culturally, the Chinese are still considered communist, which means that they are anti-exploitation of workers. Okay? They are anti-hardcore capitalism, particularly when it comes to industrialist capitalism and colonialism. All right? Now, there's a whole other topic there. But if you look at what was going on in Canto Bite, it was a bunch of rich, bourgeois, people who were selling to both sides, making lots of money, and oppressing people. They had slaves. And the Chinese considered themselves the People's Liberation Army. That's what they call their army. They consider themselves to be liberators. Now, you can disagree with them philosophically, you can disagree with them politically. But if you're trying to make inroads into China to broaden your market, then yeah, look at Pacific Rim. Okay? Look at the movie The Martian. Look at The Last Karate Kid. There's a reason why these are set that way. And for those of you who didn't get that, I just don't know what you were looking at. You know, you really should do some thinking about things before you just go, oh, that was just stupid. Yeah, it may not have been the best part of the movie, but if you're trying to broaden your market, which is and then you can get into the stuff with Kathleen Kennedy, okay? Don't get me wrong. I'm not saying that was my favorite part of the movie. As a matter of fact, I don't even really think it was necessary. And it kind of ticked me off that it looks like they killed off Phasma. And they also brought up the fact that, you know, they bring up these characters and then Rian Johnson just crapped all over it. Where's the Knights of Ren? Snoke was built up as being all this, oh, he's responsible for this, he's responsible for that, and he's dead. Like Darth Maul was killed off. But there might be something to that, actually. I was thinking about that the other day. He pretty much went out the way Darth Maul did, and everybody was pissed off about that. Because Darth Maul is hands down one of the coolest characters that has ever been made. And I love Boba Fett, but Boba Fett didn't do as much you know, in the I mean, if you get into the expanded universe, yeah, you get into the stuff that he did, but he didn't really spend that much time on TV. On the movie, and neither did Darth Maul. But there's a reason why those are so popular. And then they brought Maul back in Clone Wars, and then they brought him back into Rebels, and I thought, yeah, awesome, it was awesome. And then they go and kill off Phasma. They kill off Snoke. You know, these are characters that have not been fully fleshed out. We don't know who the Praetorians are. They're pretty cool. They're kind of kick-ass. But you know, I mean, there were problems structurally in the movie that kind of bothered people. You know, the Mary Poppins thing with Princess Leia. Come on, I mean, but it is what it is. It is what it is. Now, people go after Kathleen Kennedy, and for a lot of the aforementioned stuff that I just covered in the last, few minutes, and they started picking her, and she said, "You know what? We don't really care what you think. We're going to do this way because this is the right thing." Well, you know what? That's like the people that are saying, "Hey, the Confederate statue that we have, that's part of our history. You can't erase the fact that we had a civil war and people from this town fought maybe on the wrong side of the Civil War." And I'm not defending that at all. I'm just using it as an analogy. And then people say, "No, you have to tear it down," and da da da. I think there's a right way to do things and a wrong way to do things. My point is, right idea, wrong application, maybe. When you're dealing with somebody who's angry and they're coming at you and they're ignorant, okay, and they're upset for the fact that you're trying to broaden the appeal of Star Wars to where young girls might want to be part of the thing and might eventually buy the toys, but also be inspired to go on and study science and things like that. To turn around and call those fanboys and those little, nerds in the closets. And, I mean, I personally, I've said much worse about guys like that because I've dealt with them before. I've seen how they think they're preserving the Star Wars integrity, and they're full of crap. Okay? They're just, I mean, look, I'm a nerd, okay? I mean, I'm a tattooed nerd. I'm not a little wimpy nerd. But I was a skinny little nerd. Now, I can be a nerd and still, be a man, okay? But there's a lot of guys that sit around in their mom's basement collecting their little Star Wars figures and playing D&D, and trust me, I've done all of that. So my mom didn't have a basement. I actually lived upstairs above the garage. But my point is, there's a point at which you got to grow up, dude. Come on. We're talking about, I mean, I don't want to, I really am holding my tongue on a lot of that. For Kathleen Kennedy to get down in the mud with these people to the point where, you idiots, you go out and you boycott Solo. Now where are we? Okay, because you went out and did that crap. First of all, Solo was a good movie. Rogue One was a good movie. All you people with problems, they keep having this agenda where we always going to have this strong woman. What is your problem? What's your problem? Did you not see Alien? Have you never heard of Ripley? Okay. Did you not see Aeon Flux? Did you maybe not see Ultraviolet? These are big sci-fi movies with strong female characters. What is your problem? Personally, I think it kicks ass. Okay? In Rogue One, you got Jyn Erso. Very complex character as far as I'm concerned. Done very well. You've got Rey, bit of a Mary Sue. Another issue that they said that people didn't really get into until somebody pointed out Luke Skywalker was the same way. So you say, she can just fly this and fly that, and she knows how to fix everything, and what's that about? Well, first of all, that was The Force Awakens. But the fact of the matter is that Luke knew how to do a lot of that stuff. And then say, but Luke actually, he was a bush pilot with his buddies, and that's true. He was kind of a hot rodder. So I mean, the Mary Sue thing, I don't know. I just look at it as kind of weak writing. You know, and somebody pointed out one of the things, if any of you have done any, been in drama and done any dramatic writing, there's a saying that says, show it, don't talk about it. Okay? My point is this, is that the way Kathleen Kennedy stewarded it or responded to criticism, I think she's a little hypersensitive, and it just went too far. And the reaction, the backlash is ridiculous. It goes right back to the thing about people hounding Kelly Marie Tran and Ahmed Best and Hayden Christensen. These are people that have given of their time, and yes, they were paid, but they did it because of they wanted to share something with you and be a part of it. And you're going to go out and you're going to sit there and, oh, well, Solo is this. And yeah, there was some stuff, people were like, oh, well, they're catering to the LGBT oh my God, they're shoving this crap down our throat. You know what? First of all, grow up. Okay? I don't think it's necessary that, we necessarily need to be talking about things like pansexuality when we're talking about something that's supposed to be made for kids. I believe in letting kids be kids, and things they learn about things at certain points in their lives. I don't know. I don't think that was absolutely necessary to come out with and say. But at the same time, I know that there are people in the LGBT community who do appreciate the fact that, hey, once again, trying to show diversity. And all you angry little white guys out there who get all pissed off about that, you should take a long, hard look at yourself. Because, people in the LGBT community have been crapped on for years. Okay, and one of the few bastions of acceptance they've ever had has been in sci-fi. Because sci-fi tends to be progressive. And that's what you people don't understand. You want to run around with your little Trump hats on. And I'm not trying to get into politics here, but sci-fi is progressive. And a lot of us who are into sci-fi are progressives. Me, I'm more libertarian progressive. I'm very conservative on certain things, but I'm pretty broadly liberal on a lot of them. And mainly because I believe in letting people live their lives with the minimal amount of interference possible. I also do believe in social justice, as in, we should try and make society as just for everybody as we can. So there's that side of it. And Kathleen Kennedy pissed off a bunch of people. There was a backlash. Now we don't have an Obi-Wan Kenobi movie. Congratulations, idiots. Maybe we can fix it. I for one would like to see Dave Filoni take over for Kathleen Kennedy. I appreciate that she brought... Look, if it wasn't for Kathleen Kennedy bringing in Star Wars to Disney, you idiots, we wouldn't have had any Star Wars movies in the last 6-7 years. And we've had 4. Okay? Stop being a-holes. Now, I don't want to get this, I don't want YouTube to get mad. That's why I'm being circumspect in my words, all right? I think that was the biggest point that they missed in this debate about the Last Jedi. There's other stuff that they covered as in can it really stand on its own when you don't have a Luke and you don't have a Han? you know, and these new characters, can they really carry it? Well, we'll see. We don't know what the end result is going to be. The prequels weren't perfect, but you know what? I enjoyed them when they came out, and I'll still watch them. And I liked Solo. I thought Solo was a great movie. I personally would pay to see a Solo trilogy. I thought it was fantastic. You know, and I think that they should definitely do a Lando movie. And maybe we'll get to see, you know, Solo in that again, you know. But the main point to learn about the Last Jedi and why it's so divisive has to do with both sides not knowing how to express an opinion necessarily and have a difference of opinion or a difference of philosophy and do so civilly. You know, there was a backlash. Ryan Johnson and Kathleen Kennedy, I think, reacted poorly. I think they reacted inadvisedly. I think that they just made things worse. They could have said, you know what, to be perfectly honest with you, I don't really get where you're coming from, because this is what we're trying to accomplish. And this is the direction that we're going to be going. We'd love for you to come with us. You know, we appreciate all the people that have been the fans along the way, but society evolves. And you know, as a society, we're trying to engage more on this level. Could have done it without, like, you know, calling. I mean, you know what they say, you know, an eye for an eye, and the whole world goes blind. You know, you don't get down in the mud with a pig and expect to come up clean. It's just, it's not going to happen. So I mean, the link to the conversation, it's a debate. There's about 10 or 15 people involved in it. I'm going to put it down below so you can hear it. But I'd really be interested in hearing your thoughts on my thoughts. If you disagree with me, that's fine. Here's the only thing I ask. Try and be civil, because I'm doing my best to hold my tongue and be civil as well. All right? I'm giving you my opinions, and ordinarily, you know, it's fun to watch me do my little projects and stuff like that, and you know, stick myself with a stick pin accidentally or glue my foot to something. I'm perfectly well aware that I am not the greatest tutorial vlogger out there. Okay, I'm not, and it's never been my intention to pretend otherwise. I think part of what I try and do is I try not to take myself too seriously and make this something that I show you what I'm trying to do, and then if it can spur something with you, or if you just enjoy the process, the thought process, then that's fine. If you don't, well, then unsubscribe. But anyway, you know, hopefully in the next week or so, I will be posting another video. That's the follow-up to the number 2 on the patch jacket thing. I haven't forgotten about the A300, the Jyn Erso. You know, I'm still working on my strategy for that. I'm still working on trying to get the patterns done for the Bandolier, for the Short Trooper and the Mud Trooper. But I also have a full-time job and a life, and you know, there's also other projects I've been working on. I've been working on a helmet project. I'm going to be working on a Mandalorian costume. I'm going to have a side little project where I'm going to do like maybe a one-off on a Nerf gun that I'm doing for my son's Mandalorian costume. I'm also going to be working on my own costume here pretty soon. And of course, I'm still collecting more and more patches. I've got lots of patches that I still need to put on my jacket and on my shirt. So, and in between that, I'm the North American. I'm the California leader for the Imperial Outlanders, officially, I'm kind of also doing a lot of the duties for North America. I mean, I help out, coordinate with all the other guys in North America, all the other squad leaders. So there's that. We've got Comic-Cons coming up that I've got to get ready for. So, I'll try and push out about a video a week as best I can. But I do appreciate everybody who's been coming along. If you want, in the description, there's my Patreon thing. I want to get to the point where I'm starting to produce content for patrons, but I really don't really have any right now to be doing that for. But I've also, another thing that I'm going to be coming up with, and I might do it is I might do it for the regular channel for a bit, and then just so you get a feeling for it, and then make it a Patreon thing. I'm not sure yet, but it's called Greebly of the Week, and that is where I go through stuff that people can use on costumes or on builds that you go, oh, okay, that, and they can use it to work on different things, like they did for the model makers. They'd go what they call kit bashing, and they take different interesting looking things. Let's see, what can I show you? There, I'll give you an example, of things that I would be talking about. Little doohickeys like this. You'd be amazed where I get these things. Okay? Stuff like that you can put on your Nerf guns or on your costumes. These are one of my favorites. These little things, and I'm going to end up putting them on, probably on a glove, and paint them up silver and stuff like that. But I'm going to go into more stuff like that later. That will be probably a shorter type of a little segment, in addition to the regular one, unless I do a bigger or longer one. I might do a Greebly challenge. I don't know. As always, I appreciate everybody who watches. I know this one's been a little long. If you want to drop me a line, you can leave me a comment, or I believe my email should be down there. And until next week, I appreciate you watching. Thanks.